I think a lot of mothers assume that mind renewal happens during a really good Bible study or a really great morning routine. But renewing your mind doesn't happen in just a solid morning routine. It's the moment by moment practice of refusing to agree with lies all day long. And the fruit I have found, the fruit of mind renewal shows up most clearly when things stop going your way. And so most of my biblical mind renewal happens right here in the middle of the noise and interruptions and, being tired and doing dishes and the disobedience and folding laundry and all these ordinary moments that reveal what's actually living inside of me. And one of the biggest misconceptions too about biblical mind renewal is that it's mostly about confronting the lies you automatically think all day long, which is true. But I've also learned that it's equally about consuming and replacing those lies with truth. And so for me, mind renewal starts when I actually mentally rehearse the day. And I usually do this in my journal. Sometimes I'll do it on a walk, but I will just go through my day. And let's say I'm struggling with something in particular. I will literally go through it like I'm running plays in football or something. I will, think about whatever the issue is that I'm struggling with, showing up in a Christ like way. And I will mentally rehearse that in a way that exhibits how I actually want to show up. And I have found that when I do this, it kind of just puts my head in the game. It like puts my head in the mom game and it puts my head in the just being Christ-like and being a disciple. And it helps me to just set the emotional tone of my home because mothers have so much power to carry the emotional tone of their entire home. And that can be both really convicting, but it can also be really freeing too. So, today I am just going to take you through how I apply biblical mind renewal in my day to day life. I'm just going to kind of take you through a day in the life doing ordinary things. And I'll talk to you about some of the things, thoughts that have popped up and how I took those thoughts captive, how I renewed them, how I replaced them with truth. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy this video. And if you're new here, my name's Kiri and I help Christian mothers love motherhood again. Okay, so I have found that our thought life is so much less of a secret than we actually think it is. Okay. Like it is like we're not fooling anyone. Like it's very apparent what is going on in your mind. Like it's very apparent what kind of thoughts are going on in someone's mind. And as a mother, you could probably feel that in your home. You've probably realized that your home and the people in your home can totally feel the atmosphere of your thoughts long before anything comes out of your mouth. It's like there's this feel behind how a mother is walking around her home and how she's just interacting with everybody. I think that it's just so important because we can nip so many issues that we have in the bud by just renewing our minds biblically. And so I realized that particularly in motherhood, when I stopped treating my children like they were interruptions and I started treating them more like they were the entire purpose, everything changed for me. Knees off. And we need to make this look much better, okay? Can you stuff that all the way in? Yeah. Okay. And then Jackson. I had this epiphany that was like, if what I am doing is not for the glory of God, then I'm missing the point entirely. And it's so easy to think that what you're doing, you are doing for the glory of God until you actually take stock of what you're thinking while you're doing it. And until you actually just kind of take inventory of your thoughts and your feelings as you are doing whatever it is. Maybe it's parenting, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's whatever. And so what I realized for me was that for so long, I was treating my children like they were sort of interruptions to my life versus just the purpose. And when I had that mindset shift, everything changed for me. And so I think that it's important when we talk about biblical mind renewal is that we kind of start from there because that's our foundation. We're doing everything for the glory of God. And as mothers, we're not treating our children as interruptions or as burdens. So we have to start from that foundation, okay? When it comes to biblical mind renewal, I'm doing everything for the glory of God. And if I'm not, I'm missing the point entirely. And my children aren't interruptions. They are the purpose. They are my purpose. And so just having that kind of foundation makes renewing your mind biblically actually so easy because then every, negative thought that pops up and you recognize it, you just go back to that foundation and you think, okay, is this thought in alignment with doing everything for the glory of God? Is this thought treating my children like they are my entire purpose, or is it kind of treating them like they're an interruption or a burden, right? Having that foundation to go back to is pivotal. So I'm just going to take you through my day and I'm going to explain to you some of the thoughts that came as I was, going through these certain things, just my ordinary day. And I call them, in my course, I call them ODPs, old destructive patterns. And it can be old destructive patterns of thinking or old destructive patterns of behaving. But usually old destructive patterns of thinking lead to destructive patterns of behaving. So I'll tell you what that thought was, or, even just thoughts that maybe I would have previously had in that scenario, but I didn't, but I remember that used to be something I struggled with. So I'll kind of talk about that. And then I'll tell you, the truth behind that and then my renewed response and how I kind of would walk myself through that cycle. Okay, so first thing this morning, my son woke up. He was making this screeching noise. And I can only describe it as maybe a dinosaur would say. Basically just this awful, super, super unpleasant noise. And so, number one, that just kind of in itself triggered me. And I was just like, okay, what an unpleasant noise to start my day with, right? Because it was, I had been up for a while, but it was 6:00 in the morning, right? So it was my first interaction. And then on top of that, he was going to wake up the other kids. He knows he's supposed to be, just quietly in his bed, all these things, right? But on top of that, there was this urgency to it too. Because I was like, all right, I'm sitting here and I'm literally writing in my journal. Okay. I'm mentally rehearsing my day here. And so I'm thinking about it and I'm like, all right, well, I could go in there and my flesh wants to go in there and just reprimand him and just lay into him and just be like, what are you doing? Just get really angry because I deserve to. I deserve to be angry. I am justified. And so I do this thing now where I use just the act of justification in itself as my clue. Whatever I'm about to do is not a good choice. Okay. And so anyway, I was thinking about it and I go back to my foundation, which is my children are not interruptions. They are the entire purpose. Okay. So I start with that. Another thing that I do is I start with my foundation, or I have sort of a foundation of who do I want to be? Who do I want to be as a mother? Even when I'm mad, I want to be nurturing and warm. And so I want to treat people not on the basis of what they deserve, but rather on the basis of the grace that has been given to me. And so one thing that has been so profound for me, and I said this in the intro, is replacing lies, replacing ODPs with truth. This is so important because you can't just empty your mind. You have to fill it with truth. Okay. You have to fill it with something. It's that whole don't think about an elephant or whatever. And then of course you're thinking about an elephant, right? You have to put your mind on something. So if I were to just say, don't think about him making that screechy noise, or don't be mad about that. Well, of course I'm still going to be mad about it because I'm not replacing it with anything. And so I thought about, okay, so my point is having scripture hidden in your heart and memorized is so important. And so I have Ephesians 4:29 memorized. I've had it memorized since years ago when I was trying to stop cussing, actually. And I memorized Ephesians 4:29, which is, of course, now I'm on the spot, so I'm probably not going to remember it. But it's, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may bring grace to those who hear. I would have made provision for my flesh, and I would have responded according to my flesh, and that would not have been good. And so instead, the Lord, in his infinite mercy, brought to mind Ephesians 4:29. And so I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, okay, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. And that is what I wanted to do. My flesh wanted to, go in there and really lay into him and just drill him, but only such as is good for building up. Okay, we need to build him up as fits the occasion. So it needs to be relevant to the situation, that it may bring grace to those who hear. Okay. And so from that, I was like, okay, I want to be nurturing. I want to be warm. I just want to exude warmth as a mother. I want to, even if my children are doing something wrong, I want to go in and I want them to feel my warmth regardless of how I actually feel, right? So anyway, I went in there and I responded in warmer, more nurturing way because I was able to go back to my foundation, go back to my purpose, go back to who I want to be as a mother, and then go back to truth, which in that moment was Ephesians 4:29. Okay, and the next thing is something that I think so many women, particularly wives, experience, or even, just moms in general, or really just anybody who lives with someone, where you have your, house all set up how you want it. The kitchen looks the way you want. Maybe you stayed up late to make sure that the kitchen looks nice for when you wake up in the morning, and then you get up in the morning and somebody messed it all up, right? And so I woke up, and this is not actually something that I struggle with anymore. However, it used to be. But I woke up and I saw this big blue jug. It's like our water jug on the kitchen counter. And my old ODP would have been to just be so annoyed that that hideous blue jug was there. And, my husband had left it out or whatever, right? And I would have had all these thoughts that go along with it. Like, why couldn't he just because he was drying it out, why couldn't he just let this dry out in the garage? Or, he knew that I stayed up so that I could have this kitchen clean so that I could wake up to a clean kitchen. I would just be making all these assumptions. And so anyway, I didn't have that. Instead, because I had worked on this, and this is the beauty of mind renewal, is that it literally rewires your brain. And that's what I talk so much about on my channel, is that God literally designed our brains to be plastic so that we can be renewed. We can be transformed by the renewal of our mind, meaning old thoughts that used to come up, like old toxic thoughts that used to come up, will just eventually fade away if you don't give them attention, right? And so that's what happened for me. So when I woke up and I saw the blue jug sitting on the counter, instead of thinking all those ODPs, I remembered the super fun day we had at the lake, which is why we needed that big, huge water jug, because we were spending all day at the lake. And I was just so grateful. And I'm tearing up now thinking about it, because I'm just so in awe of what the Lord can do to someone who is actively renewing their mind, right? I could have started my day with this icky feeling of this hideous blue jug on my counter and be all up in arms about it and making assumptions about my husband's intentions. Or I could instead think about the wonderful day that I had with my family at the lake and how that hideous blue jug represents that, So anyway, that sounds like a silly thing, but it could be anything, that your husband leaves out, or your kids or whatever. Right now, my kids have toys all over the house. Instead of being upset about that, I'm just like, I love that. I love that I get to see that, because that means that I have a house that is full of joy and children playing and life being lived. And what a blessing that is, right? Okay, another thing that happened this morning is I was making breakfast and my children, they were getting dressed, and my daughter she has two separate wardrobes. She has a closet wardrobe, which we just use for like church and like going, out and doing nice things or whatever, like where I want them to wear nice clothes. And then they have their drawer clothes, and their drawer clothes are what they wear like just to play. Okay. And so they're not allowed to go in their closet, only their drawer. And this morning she went in her closet and she got this like beautiful green dress on. But I was frustrated because I was like, girl, you're not allowed to go in that closet. What are you doing? I didn't want to crush her spirit in that moment. And this is something that it would have triggered me, because I would have felt like it was a poor reflection on me as a parent. And I would have felt like, okay, well, I'm not doing my job to train her properly, and therefore she's disobeying me. And then I would have spiraled, and I would have thought about, okay, well, if I don't correct this now, then this, and this, and this is going to happen. Or then, whatever. And so instead of doing that, I didn't want to crush her spirit and be like, just so upset that she went in her closet. And so instead, I picked her up and I was like, you look so beautiful. And then of course, like I did address, you're not supposed to go in your closet, right? So I was like, why'd you go in your closet? And I was wearing, this morning I was wearing my white, my husband calls it a muumuu, so we call it a muumuu. So I don't even know what to call it. It's a nightgown. And so I was wearing my white nightgown, and she loves when I wear that. And she loves when I wear just like any dresses. And she always wants to just look like me. And so that was the closest thing that she thought of that looked like me and like what I was wearing. And so I can't remember what she said, but it was something like, I want to look like mama, or I want to, dress like mama or something, or I want to wear big dress. She calls them big dresses. I want to wear a big dress like mama. And it's like, goodness gracious, like what a blessing is that, So anyway, so there was that. And of course, I did make her change because it wasn't a practical thing to wear. And I did end up disciplining her. She's, I took the dress away from her. She's not allowed to wear that dress. So discipline does still happen. I'm not saying that like I don't discipline in my house. By no means am I saying that. But I now discipline from, what I call gentle restraint. And I will wait a long time until I have wisdom on how to discipline. Before I actually implement whatever that discipline is. Because I find that a lot of times I was disciplining in the moment in my flesh and out of anger. And then, I would then break fellowship with my child, and then I would have to restore that fellowship. And it was just, that is not how I wanted to parent. And that's not how I wanted to discipline, right? I would rather have unruly children than be in constant broken fellowship with my children. And so anyway, so there's that. So another ODP that I used to really struggle with is having a posture of scorekeeping. It poisons the atmosphere of your home. Not only that, but when you are thinking about what you are doing. So here I am, I'm folding laundry. I have mounds of laundry. I mean, I think this is like 4 loads worth of laundry to fold. And the temptation, of course, comes where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I the one that has to do all of this? Why am I the one that has to fold all the laundry in the house and also do all these other things? And then I'm like mentally calculating in my mind everything I do versus what everybody else in the house does. Number one, like I said, poisons the atmosphere of the home. But number 2, it releases cortisol in my own brain and my own body. And it keeps me stuck in survival mode. So it's not serving me at all in the slightest, even if there is injustice, which, let's be real, there's not in my home. I know there is in a lot of you who are watching. I know that there is true injustice, true, whatever is going on in your home should not be going on. And I get that. So I don't want to discount that. But when it comes to scorekeeping, when it comes to, well, I do this and you don't do that, and that is going to put you even more into survival mode. It's going to put me even more into survival mode if I give in to those thoughts and if I don't take those thoughts captive and if I indulge that kind of thinking. Number one, it's not good for a marriage. But number two is it's not good for us. It's not good for our own soul because it releases literal cortisol in your brain. And so what happens is every time you mentally keep score, you literally feel like you are being wronged again. Your brain sort of becomes addicted to this self-righteousness because it releases a small bit of dopamine. And it's the chemical of like being right? You release that little bit of dopamine because you're looking for clues on how much more you do than everybody else in your house. And you're going to find those clues. You're going to find evidence of that. And so a little burst of dopamine because you got that sensation of like, yeah, I'm right in this. But the more you feed that, the more you are reinforcing this cycle. And the more you are reinforcing those feelings of anxiety and isolation. And I know you don't want that, right? And biblically, this habit of scorekeeping is rooted in pride. It's rooted in, things have to be fair for me. The playing field needs to be even. And that's just not how God's kingdom operates. God's kingdom does not operate on fairness. It operates on grace and the gospel. When you can shift that mindset on, again, going back to everything I do is for the glory of God. And if not, I'm missing the point entirely. Okay, well, how can I glorify God? I have 4 loads of laundry that I have to fold here. It's overwhelming, but what would it look like to glorify God, to do this from a posture not of scorekeeping, but of glorifying the Lord? And that would look like doing it with a happy heart. I tell my kids all the time, obey with a happy heart. Okay. And God wants that from us too, is, he wants us to obey with a happy heart. And if obedience means operating on an uneven playing field and doing it with a happy heart and doing it for the Lord, then that's what that means. And when you do that, you'll find a lot of blessing in that for yourself too, because you're not going to be releasing all that cortisol and having all these negative effects on your body. So anyway, Romans 12:18 says to live peaceably with all. I think it's like, if as far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Don't quote me on that because I might be wrong. But the point is that we have to do our best to live at peace with one another. And if that means that you are pulling more than your fair share, maybe even just in this season, then that's what that means. And I think that there will be a lot of blessing in that. One thing I want to say is that when I teach my students to renew their mind, biblically, I am teaching them how to do that from a nervous system that has been calmed. And you can renew your minds all the time. And, you don't have to have a calm nervous system in order to renew your mind, of course. But I have found that if it feels impossible, and I have been there, if it feels impossible to renew your mind, and it feels like you are just constantly freaking out and you are constantly just in utter survival mode, there is something wrong. That is not normal. Motherhood is hard. Motherhood is overstimulating. It is. But God literally designed us to be able to endure and withstand the stimulation required of motherhood. And if we can't, then something is off. And what I have found is that usually that's because we are living in chronic fight or flight. We are living in a state of chronic stress, and our stress response is so high at all times that any other little stressor, it could be like, a toddler dropping his, toy or something, just sends us over the edge. And if you're feeling like that, then I would really recommend taking my free workshop, because I talk about how I got out of that state, and how I was able to heal it's called nervous system dysfunction, how I was able to heal that for myself and thousands of other women who have taken my free workshop. And so anyway, that's what I do. That's what I teach. You can renew your mind even if you have nervous system dysfunction, but I have found that it's a heck of a lot easier to renew your mind like this and to kind of keep your head in the game and to have that Christ-like mentality and to just naturally go back to renewing your mind over and over again when you are not living in survival mode and when you are not in a constant state of fight, flight, and freeze. So anyway, I would love for you to check out my free workshop. But it's always such a joy to have you here. And I wanted to take you through part of my day, just a little kind of day in the life of just doing things around my house and how, like, what is coming up in my mind and how I renew that and how I kind of combat that. So I hope this video is a blessing to you, and I'll see you in the next video.